This is Roland, and I'm stopping by to make a quick video. I haven't made one for a while. I want you to know that I'm still around. The world is crazy. But the good part of it is that everything's being revealed for what it is. We see every institution practically is being revealed for what it is. Corrupt, greedy, without love, without understanding. And the people are being exploited, and the people are being lied to. And in order to survive, you have to see what's going on, but don't react to it. Don't become resentful. Don't become angry. Sure, a sense of, what's the word to use? Of outrage? Yes. Clearly seeing what's going on and not falling for the lies? Yes. Concern? Yes. But let it galvanize you to take care of the important things in life. Yourself, your family. You have to be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove, as Christ said. Now, one of the important things in life is to learn how not to react. You see, human beings, I was writing about that this morning. Oh, incidentally, I think it would be good if you got my meditations, this short one. If you go to my website and up at the top there's a slideshow, if you click on meditation, it'll take you to the short one. And you should get it and put it on a CD. You know, something kind of low tech that you can have at home and that will work. If, things go south, if things go bad, if I don't need to go into any details, do I? But then you'll have it. And you should also then click on one of the icons that says meditation. Click on it, because then you have access to the longer form, the beautiful 4-part form. You should also download it and put it on a CD so you have it. And then the books that are there, the free books, Becoming a Friend of God, A Brief Introduction to Stress Management, you should get those. Download them, put them on a CD, so you have them. I mean, obviously you could print them up or something, but that's too much trouble. Just have them on a CD, or worst case on a flash drive. Okay, you could have them on a flash drive. So have them on a flash drive, but ideally on a CD. And you should get my my latest book, which is called, what's it called? Something, oh yes, Contemporary Contemplation, with reflections on Miguel de Molinos. Contemporary Contemplation, and you can find it at Amazon. You should get it. Or you can contact me, and then for a small donation of any amount, I'll send you a PDF of it. But you should also get it, because at the end of the book, there's some additional materials, and one of them is a transcript of the meditation, a written transcript. So you should have that, and maybe print it up. Yeah, you can have it on a CD also, but it would be even nice. Well, you don't have to print it up. Get the book, okay? Or you know what I mean. But have it. Ideally, get the book, then you'll have a hard copy of it. Then if the electricity fails and you don't have any batteries, then you can still read it. And you should, if you can, get some of my books. They're all good. And just have them. Have them in the paperback version. So now I want to talk about the human being was meant to flow from within. See, if you flow from within, then the good comes from within, from God, from intuition, from this source, this fount of blessing. It flows through you. When you realize something, it's flowing through you. When you see clearly that something is not good and you don't go that way, it's flowing through you. When you speak a simple word of truth that might wake a person up, it's flowing through you. When you have a certain look in your eye, a sweetness, a kindness, a concern, it's flowing through you. So, but when it flows through you, it flows through your mind, your emotions, your body, through your cells, through all the cells of your being. It flows through you, and it is good for you. See, the good that you do, and sometimes you don't even know you're doing good. Somebody says something and you say something and it's honest, and they heard the truth, it's nice. Or somebody does something and instead of resenting them, you just let it pass. See, you don't even realize it, but it's flowing through you. And you're extending good into the world, extending light into the world, extending truth into the world, extending patience into the world. And as you do so, it's also good for you. See? So your goal is not to do good for yourself. You're good. You don't even have a goal other than to just to be aware of, to pay attention to your intuition and ready to heed its delicate promptings, and then ready to do what's right, whatever that is. And you don't know what is right. You get up in the morning, you have no idea what you're going to do. You walk out, you see the birds and the blue sky, and you read a little something, you have an insight, you have a realization. You hear somebody say something, you know it's not true, you don't know how you know, you just know it's not true. So on and so forth. And then you go through the day, you live the day, and you have little opportunities to see, to realize, and to speak. And you extend the good into the world. And it's good for you at the same time as it flows through you. But now what happens when somebody becomes negative? So I want to focus for a moment upon the word resentment. When there is resentment, what does that mean? Well, I've been looking at it now for 35 years, and I still have a hard time telling you what it is, but we know what it is. It's not necessary, like I was writing yesterday, it's not necessary to have a scientific understanding of what resentment is. Maybe God will give that to you, but you don't need that. All you need to do is you see that it's wrong. There's something negative about it, something wrong about it, something not right about it. And so you have to see that it's not good, and then just don't do it. What it does is it causes the person to become, have you heard the old expression, to be a glutton for punishment? You know, some people are a glutton for punishment. But resentment makes you a glutton for punishment. So instead of the good flowing through you, now no good flows through you. And have you noticed that when you're resentful, you can't accept the good? Or let's say you see somebody and they're resentful. You can see they're resentful. So you try to cheer them up a little bit. You say, hey, how's it going? Nice day, isn't it? Leave me alone. See, they can't accept the good. They can't accept it. In that negative state, you cannot accept the good. Do you see how profoundly negative that is? But you can, strangely enough, the resentful person can accept the bad, and even become a glutton for bad. See, the ego. See, human beings, we need love, don't we? We need some sort of attention. We need some sort of acknowledgement, don't we? Sometimes you see a homeless person. They walk around, nobody even looks at them. Then sometimes you see them walk up to someone and ask them a question. I don't mean ask for money, but I mean just ask them, say, what time is it? And all they're looking for is for someone to give them a little acknowledgement that they're a human being and that they exist. See, we need that. So we got to have that. Now, the ideal spiritual person receives that acknowledgement from God and God's approval, and know that He's there. We need a presence, don't we? Someone, a person, a spirit, an animal, even smoke. The smoker needs to see the smoke. The smoker gets a certain comfort from seeing the smoke. So, where was I going with this? Oh, okay, so the resentful person, they're cut off from truth. So their ego learns to thrive on pain, on being hurt, on a sense of glory in being hard done by and being misunderstood and being rejected. So they don't get love, but they get hate. And so if they don't get love, they settle for the hate. It's some sort of acknowledgement, and they are sustained on that. It's very negative. But the other thing I want you to see again is that the resentful person can't accept the good, but the bad gets in. And they look for the bad. The resentful person looks for someone to disrespect them, for someone to cheat them a little bit, for someone to. That's what they're looking for. They're watching for it, and then they see it and they puff up. It gives their pride a little boost, and in some strange way, they get some acknowledgement from it. But it's an absolute reverse state of being. You don't want to be where you can't accept the good and you can only accept bad. That is not a way to be. So you have to learn how to watch out for resentment and let it go. Let the resentment go. Learn to go through life without judging, without expecting anything from people. If you do good, don't expect them to tell you that you did a good thing. Don't expect anything. Just do what comes to you. Go about your business. If people like you, don't glorify in that. If people hate you, then don't let it bother you. If people praise you, then let it go in one ear and out the other. And if people criticize you, just let it roll off your back. Just go through life like I've always said, or often said, just like a tourist. Look, when you're a tourist, you're on vacation, old-fashioned vacation. I don't know if people go on vacations anymore. The world is such a mess now. But on an old-fashioned vacation, especially when you were a kid, maybe, or a young person, wow, it was so fun to see all the different people. Like you can remember maybe you were a college student or something, and a bunch of you were taken somewhere, some activity. I don't know what it was. It was a sport. It was a athletics, or you were in a choir and you were singing, and so you all went to some other city or some other country. Wow, it was so cool. The people, the sights, everything was really cool. The food, you just loved it. And it was like you have to be like that. Just go through the world. I'm not saying that the bad things that you see around you are cool. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying you have to learn to just go through life and without life going through you. I didn't make that up. Somebody said it, but it's very good. Go through life without life going through you. Instead, see, then the good seals out the bad. See, it's like a flow. You flow outward, and the outward flow extends good into the world. But when you're negative, when you're resentful, then the bad gets in. Okay, so if a lot of bad is getting in, the first thing you need to take a peek at is resentment. Realize that, first of all, resentment is wrong, and you know it's wrong. See, the other problem with resentment is that you sense that it's wrong. You just sense that it's wrong to be resentful. It's a little bit of hate. It's a little bit of defeat. It's a little bit of pride. It's a little bit of, it's negative. See? So, and then the problem is you start to hate, you start to resent yourself. You turn it on yourself. Because you feel inferior. Because it is inferior. The resentful person is kind of a loser, aren't they? The resentment is the booby prize. Remember that word, the booby prize? Instead of winning, you lose, but they give you a prize anyway. You know. So resentment is just not a good thing at all. So you have to learn to let it go. Learn to let it go. Learn from, see, there are bad people in the world, but you can learn something from them. Take a look at the very successful people that are bad, that are not such good people, but they're very successful. For the most part, they don't become resentful. If they do, then they self-destruct. But if they're very successful and confident, then they don't become resentful. They have a kind of a above-it-all attitude that seems to inoculate them against criticism and everything else. And sometimes you marvel. You say, wow, well, you've got to be that way, but not as a bad person, but as a good person. Then you can be a successful, good person. Negativity and resentment. See, the problem with people that grow up sometimes in bad areas and so forth is there's so much cruelty around them. So much, cruelty. That they become resentful. And then it's the resentment that keeps them down. You don't want to be resentful. But more importantly than not being down in the world, you don't want to be down spiritually. So you have to let go of resentment. Now some people go and hide. They're resentful, so they go and hide somewhere. They go to a monastery. I heard a joke yesterday. A guy joined a monastery and he had to take a vow of silence. He was only allowed to speak two words. Every year there would be a meeting with this, with the head monk. And he was only allowed 2 words. So he was in the monastery for a year, and then after a year there was a meeting with the head monk. And the head monk says, well, what do you have to say? And he said, bed hard. Then another year went by, and he had the second meeting, 2 years, after 2 years with the head monk, and he said to the monk, food cold. Then the third year, after 3 years, he said to the monk, I quit. He said to the head monk, I quit. And the head monk said, well, it doesn't surprise me. All you've done is complain ever since you got here. Or the only thing you've ever done is complain. Anyway, you got the idea. So you don't want to be a monk and go hide off in the mountains somewhere. Look at Jesus. He was out there with people. He was surrounded by people. Everywhere he went, people, people, people. And a lot of the people, they were against him. They murmured against him. They were trying to figure out some way to get him. They didn't understand him. They doubted him. See, don't become resentful. How many times have you said something and they misunderstood it? Or maybe somebody in your house, your wife or your mom or your dad or someone, or your husband. They misunderstand everything you say. What? They misinterpret it. They twist it the wrong way. Don't resent them. Don't resent them. Just notice it and say it again, or explain a little bit what you meant. And if they continue to misunderstand you, then just let it go. It's a little painful if someone really misunderstands you, then it's a little painful. But don't rush to them. Don't try to beg for them to understand you. Don't apologize to them and feel like you're wrong. Just let it go. Just go about your life. But what I was going to say is, look at Jesus. All they did was misinterpret everything he said. Even the apostles, before the Holy Spirit came. When you read, you see the apostles, They were clueless. He said, I have food which you know not of. They said, food? Well, what kind of food was that? They were totally clueless. But then the Holy Spirit came, and then their eyes were open. Jesus opened their eyes, and they were able to understand. So don't expect people to understand. Don't expect anything. Just go about your life and watch out for resentment. That'd be something you could do. Just watch for it. And it can be very subtle. So areas of your life where you feel a compulsion to do something, or pressure to do something, or something you can't do, or somebody gets into your head. You know how boxers talk? One boxer will say, hey, I want to get into his head. So that's why they have this thing before boxing matches where one of the boxers will accuse each other of all kinds of negative things and say, hey, you're a coward and you're no good and I'm going to beat you up in the first round. And they're trying to get into the other boxer's head. Well, that's what happens to you. But I want you to see that a lot of times when something gets into your head, first see that it's in there. You're thinking about somebody and what they said and what you're going to say to them and so forth, and then realize that there's a good chance that what started it off was resentment, a reaction. So now I come back to where I started. So you understand this little reaction of resentment. So you can see how reacting sets you up for the good to come in, but the bad to come in, but the good not to flow out. So now when you look at the world and see how crazy it is, and you see one by one, people are exposed, institutions are exposed. Everything is exposed as being for what it is: empty, loveless, deceitful, and sometimes harmful. And just see it. And realize also that there's a mighty hand shaping the world. And a lot of times, you really don't know what's going on. So a lot of people talk about this and talk about that. And I let it go in one ear and out the other ear. So I hope you enjoyed today's little talk. I certainly enjoyed it. And I'll try to come back more often.